Can you hear me now? God damn, that's embarrassing. All right, let's start over. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson, and sometimes the microphone just decides it doesn't want to be on. So I have to turn it on. I just turned itself off automatically. I don't know why. We're here. Let's talk about the news. Global population decline. It's not happening just in Japan or South Korea or the United States, as you may have heard. It's happening in other developed nations around the world as well. We're going to talk about the decline in birth rates around the world, the end of civilization, dogs and cats living together as we know it. We are going to stop for now. Don't freak out. Calm down. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being so understanding. Urge Mommy, I'm glad I could give you a laugh. Levin214, thank you for the donation already. He's starting off the bonus content unlock nice and early this week. The theme for the bonus content of the mini documentaries that you have been unlocking for the last couple of days have been celebrities, Hollywood celebrities who are libertarians. And yesterday we did Vince Vaughn. Monday we did, who was Monday? I've already forgotten. Good God. It's been a week. Today you'll find out a new celebrity who's a libertarian in Hollywood if we raise at least $60 by the end of the show, either in Rumble Rants or in purchases at apforlibertyshop.com. So thank you to Levin for joining us. We appreciate that very much. Erd's Mommy's already got a theory about why the decline in birth rate. She says it has a lot to do with the jab. See, that doesn't make sense because the jab actually made me and Stephanie super fertile. Like it was like jab and then baby immediately. So my theory has always been that COVID vaccines will actually make you a Superman, an Ubermensch. At least that's according to the data that I just pulled out of my ass. So. Kurt Russell, thank you, Cecilia. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. So we're going to talk about that at the top of the show. Then at 7:30 this morning, we're going to hear from the Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate, Larry Sharpe. Is everybody excited to hear from Larry?
No, God!
What do you know? Shut up. No. Stop it. We're going to hear from Larry Sharpe. He's now running for the Libertarian Party's vice presidential slot. Just a few weeks ago, we had him on the show, and he was doing consulting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Super PAC. Now he's running on the VP ballot line with another candidate who's running for president, Lars Ulrich. No, not Lars Ulrich. The drummer from Metallica. We're going to talk about his campaign for the vice presidential spot. Larry Sharpe will join us at 7:30 a.m., and he'll explain to us why he's running on a ticket with somebody else. So at 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to hear from good old Judge Napolitano. We missed him last week. The judge. Here comes the judge. We'll hear from him at 8 o'clock this morning. We're going to basically do for you all, just go down the Supreme Court's docket of the cases that have yet to be decided this year. Give you a breakdown of all the cases. Excuse me, here comes some hiccups. We're going to hear from him about all of the cases that have yet to be decided this year. I think he was in Italy again last week. I'm not entirely sure. I'm a little jealous. I was watching the episode of The Sopranos last night where Tony goes to Italy. And I have to say that maybe it was just because of The Sopranos, but it didn't make it look too fun or appetizing. And for them, it's all like, lascivious behavior and lewd actions and, murder and death and all that stuff. So maybe that's why. We'll hear from the judge at 8 o'clock this morning. At 8:30, so I kind of screwed up. I was supposed to have a guest. One of the gentlemen from InfoWars, name's Chase Geyser, he reached out to me, wanted to be on the show. We booked him in advance. I accidentally double booked the show with Ian Howarth. He was going to come on at the same time. I'm like, ooh, I screwed up. So I told Ian, hey, can we instead do tomorrow? He says, okay. Chase Geyser writes back, says, can't do it. Got to host InfoWars this morning. Yeah. So at the last minute, I had no guest at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So what's a girl to do? I found an awesome, fun story. We're going to talk about things that millennials just can't do. We're going to talk this morning at 8:30 a.m. about things that millennials just can't do. And if you're like, I'm a geriatric millennial, which means I'm like almost on the cusp between millennial and Gen X, but I just barely made it. So 1981, I think, is when they say it starts. So we're going to talk about some things that people my generation and below just can't do at 8:30 a.m. because I was supposed to have a guest and a topic to talk about something else. All right. Also, just an FYI, we are going to have a new guest in the chat this morning, and I hope that you guys will make him feel welcome. He is Angelo Pacheco, and he is the new hire that has been working with our company to help promote the Wake Up America show and our products at apforlibertyshop.com. So let's give him all a big warm welcome. Angelo. Be careful. He's one of those J6ers. Angelo and I worked together initially back in 2018. He and I were working together on my U.S. Senate campaign here in the state of Missouri. And Angelo did a great job handling my merch for my campaign. And now he's handling the merch for apforlibertyshop.com. He's going to be hanging out with us in the mornings sometimes. So make sure you say hello to Angelo, make him feel welcome. He's going to be out there shilling for the Grift Shop. But of course, if you have any questions or if you'd like to get to know him a little bit better, Angelo Pacheco, everybody say hi and welcome. Welcome. He's here. Pacheco Angelo J. Glad to have you here. Did you guys see this this lady here in Missouri who's causing a big stink? Valentina Gomez Noriega. She's that angry Latina that I keep talking about, kind of teasing Camellia about because she kind of drives her crazy. Well, she's basically what you might call a meme candidate. She's here in Missouri and she's running for Secretary of State, but she keeps posting these videos of her with guns. Listen, I'm guilty. I'm not somebody like in myself, like who lives in glass houses, should not throw stones. I did plenty of videos of me with guns for my campaigns. That being said, the videos don't have a whole lot to do with what she would do as Secretary of State, which is basically to oversee elections and hand out business licenses, at least some people are saying. But because the videos are getting so much attention online, we got to give her a hard time and roast her a little bit. She is, I guess, a newly adopted Missourian from either Connecticut or New Jersey. I know she went to Tulane, but I've got a great video of her that everybody is talking about and laughing about and making fun of. And of course, all the people who are hating on her are only making her more famous by retweeting her and talking about how much they dislike her. So I'll play that video for you here in just a little bit, but I got to get through these topics today because we've got a lot to discuss. At the top of our minds this morning, suddenly there aren't enough babies. The whole world is alarmed. Birth rates are falling fast across countries with economic, social, and massive geopolitical consequences. The world is at a startling demographic milestone. Sometime soon, the global fertility rate will drop below the point needed to keep the population constant. It may have already happened. Fertility is falling almost everywhere for women across all levels of income, education, and labor force participation. The falling birth rates come with huge implications for the way that people live, how economies grow, and the standings of the world's superpowers. Let's take a look at this here. Pull up this chart. The United Nations estimate of live births per woman here. Demographics are supposed to be a slow-moving force, but the baby bust is happening so quickly and so widely, it's taking the world by storm. Some estimates now put the number of babies each woman has below the global replacement rate of about 2.2. The U.S. long ago passed that level. South Korea, the world's lowest, was once unimaginable. See, here in the United States, you can see that we are now at a non-replacement level, 1.62 babies right here. And look at that, South Korea, 0.72, not even having one child to replace them here. So something deeply concerning. In high-income nations, fertility fell below replacement in the 1970s and took a leg down during the pandemic. It's dropping in developing countries, too. India surpassed China as the most populous country last year, but its fertility is now below replacement. An economist specializing in demographics at the University of Pennsylvania, his name is Jesus Fernandez Villaverde, says that the demographic winter is coming. Many government leaders see this as a matter of national urgency. They're worrying about shrinking workforces, slowing economic growth, and underfunded pensions, and the vitality of a society with ever fewer children. Smaller populations, of course, come with diminished global clout, raising questions in the United States, China, and Russia about their long term standings as superpowers. Some demographers actually think that the world's population could start shrinking within 4 decades, one of the few times that it's actually happened in history. Now, Donald Trump has called collapsing fertility a bigger threat to Western civilization than Russia. A year ago, the Japanese Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, declared that the collapse of the country's birth rate left it standing on the verge of whether we can continue to function as a society. The Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, has prioritized raising the country's demographic GDP. Governments have rolled out programs to stop the decline, but so far, they've barely made a dent. Here's a recommendation for you: have 2 kids, no more income tax. What say you? I've heard this kind of proposal being made in some Eastern European nations, and to me, it makes perfect sense. Incentivize people to produce more babies by reducing the tax burden on people like myself and my wife who plan on having at least 2 kids, and who will definitely be benefited by something like that. In 2017, when the global fertility rate was 2.5, the United Nations thought it would slip to 2.4 in the late 2020s. But by 2021, it was already below that, close to what demographers consider the global replacement rate of about 2.2. The UN has yet to publish the estimated fertility rates of 2022 and 2023, but we can imagine that it's probably gone down. National birth registries are typically reporting births 20% below what the United Nations has projected. Guokas donated $10. Thank you, Guokas. $20 towards the $60 goal by the end of the show. He says, Urs mommy is right. Estimates of death related to vaccine. Is that like the sexy vaccine? Is that the porno vaccine? In the tens of millions. Thanks, Wilkos. Excuse me. Thankful to have you here. We appreciate those who are tuning in live this morning. Don't forget to click that like button. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, don't worry. It's not all gloom and doom. We're typically much more white-pilled here, but this was such a big story, I had to report on it. If you do enjoy the content this morning, make sure that you click that follow button so that you can join us regularly. The show is Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'd be glad to have you come back and join us regularly. Now, this was an inevitable consequence of putting more women into the workforce, birth control standardization in countries where more women are having access to education. They're going for higher degrees. They're getting into the workplace, and they're discovering that motherhood is really not for them after all. And we can say truthfully that not everybody is cut out to be a mom or a dad. And while we want to encourage people to have more children, and it's a good thing if we have more babies overall, typically, I'm not a Malthusian. You have to understand that there are negative consequences to putting men and women into competition with one another in the workplace and in general daily life. So now that we have these problems, how are we going to solve them? I mean, there's all sorts of weird, negative, secondary and tertiary consequences to what's happening in places like Japan and South Korea, where you have all manner of perversions occurring that you wouldn't have seen if you had normal, healthy, monogamous or at least semi-monogamous relationships. But you don't see that happening because more and more women who are in the workplace, who make more money, who are more educated, are going to have fewer children overall. It's just a matter of timing and a matter of the consequences of the liberalization of these societies. It's happening even in places like China and even in Russia. You would think, oh, well, their societies are much more top down, much more controlled. They can force these things. But that's not what happened. And China, of course, is still trying to recover from their one-child policy that had harmed them for decades and caused all manner of, again, perverse secondary and tertiary consequences. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this demographic. Could we call it a collapse? Let's call it a decline for now. You can send a text to the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. And while you're at it, let me know what you think about this next video from a Valentina Gomez Noriega running for the Missouri Secretary of State position. Watch this. I couldn't understand what the hell she said because the music got a little bit too loud there. Whoever's editing our videos, just think, who do you think was the person who actually filmed it? Somebody actually did a pretty funny response video of this, of showing the person, because what is she saying there? She says, in America, you could be anything you want. Let's do it in her accent. In America, you can be anything you want. So don't be weak and gay. Stay fucking alert. And then a picture of her holding what appears to be, is that a vector? Is that a vector? It looks like a vector. I'm not sure, Chris. Missouri Secretary of State Valentina Gomez. Not sure why she decided to drop the Noriega, but that is her full name. I took a look at the campaign finance following. She's raised about $4,000. Her videos are getting millions of views. She does the angry Latina jog. Hold on, see if you can actually hear her voice here.
In America?
In America?
You can be anything you want. Don't be weak and gay.
You can be anything you want. So don't be weak and gay. Sounds a little bit like Tony Montana from Scarface. She's definitely a... She's a Latina for Donald Trump. Sorry. Le voy a votar. Hold on, one more time.
In America?
In America?
You can be anything you want. Don't be weak and gay. Stay
DS Now 85 says, why are you making fun of my people, AP? I can't help it. It's too good. It's too good. Mighty Megatron says, even I'm making fun of her accent. In America, you can be anything you want. No, don't be faking gay. Look at her. She's got the NRA patch on there. That screams Fed, 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 Fed. Boo. Fed, 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 Fed. Anyways, women running for office these days, I don't know. I'm kind of with our buddy Guokas over there. He says, haven't women realized they've ruined this country enough so far? Right? You know what I think of my old friend Norm Macdonald at a time like this? Women running for office.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
In America, you can be anything you want. She's running with like a tack vest on, which is kind of funny. She got the shorts there. It's the strangest thing ever. I've never seen a Latina without a booty.
In America?
But you can just tell there ain't no junk in that trunk. Which is the job of Secretary of State, again, is to oversee the elections and to issue business licenses. So I'm not quite sure what this has to do with anything. In America, it could be anything. But I think that they call her a meme candidate, but I think that that's kind of what the point of this is. I checked her campaign finance filings. She's getting way more heat online than she is getting cash online because she's only raised $4,000 by the last time she filed. So it's definitely not going to be her year. But these videos are getting a lot of attention, mostly from the people who hate her. And you got to be honest here, because the fact is that the people who are hating on her, and I hate how Twitter doesn't let you on desktop anymore be able to see what the replies are. You know, it used to be that you could click down here and then see like without retweeting. Oh, there we go. Jesus, it used to be a lot easier than that. Here we are. Hodge twins. Say hell yeah, but they've kind of gone off the rails lately. Reese says, you work behind a desk and pose with guns. Don't be weak. Join the Army and Marines if you're so hard. Okay, there might be a little bit of jealousy of some of the ladies who are angry at her. Camellia, she's got she's as much as she has. Camellia has TDS. She has Valentina Gomez Noriega derangement syndrome as well. Camellia is really triggered by her, which is just funny. Justin Peter says, my brother says, what if she has to do licenses for gay businesses? Oh, see, Justin, now you're thinking. I know what she's going to say.
Do not come. Do not come.
Gay businesses will say. Oh, she's going to say, do not come to the Secretary of State's office. Jason Kandary is kind of a Missouri political celebrity, a Democrat, an Afghan veteran, says, so refreshing to see a female GOP candidate who never served in the military doing the whole veteran cosplay. Stolen valor, bigotry is a substitute for strength routine, as well as any man. Very funny, Jason. Joni says, wait, this is Missouri, St. Louis, no doubt. Yes, she is from St. Louis. Well, actually, she's from New Jersey. She moved here, I think, like 2 years ago with her brother, another Noriega, and they both moved here. And for some reason, I think the MAGA crowd has been really pumping her a lot. Matt Gaetz and others, and others have been promoting her quite a bit. Shannon Joyce says she tagged the self-identified pimp and pornographer in her post. She's talking about Andrew Tate. So she says, don't be weak and gay. August 6th is the day we take back Missouri from these corrupt politicians. Cobra Tate the talisman. So she's obviously trying to get the attention of Andrew Tate here. But all the people, see, that's the thing, is that this Shannon Joyce, she's got a big audience, right? So she's out there kind of promoting her, right? So Damian Tell says, not sure what I would do with this, but somebody can probably use it when his team loses a game. I have no idea what. Let's just see what these people are posting about her here. Oh no. Okay, so I totally hadn't seen that beforehand. All right. Maybe we'll hit that again. Oh, you guys are texting me here over in the text line. I'm seeing you guys text me about how my mic was off earlier. I'm an idiot. Angelo Pacheco says, carpetbagger. Yes. You know, the more annoying someone is and the lower the IQ, the more popular they're going to be these days. That's just how it works. But Larry Sharp is high IQ. He's going to join us next. We're going to bring up the collective IQ, and then we're going to bring it up even more when Judge Apollo Tano joins us at 8 o'clock this morning. Don't go away. Keep unlocking that bonus content. Soon you'll be able to see today's Celebrity Libertarian of the Day when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Welcome back, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you guys enjoyed that little brief commercial break. Don't forget, commercials go away when you pay. The Wake Up America show's bonus content program is live, and so far today we've raised $20 towards the $60 goal. If by the end of the show we raise $60 either in direct donations or in purchases at apforlibertyshop.com, you guys get to see today's bonus content mini documentary. This week's theme for our bonus content is Hollywood Libertarians. The last couple of days, you got to see a little mini documentary about Vince Vaughn and about Kurt Russell. Whose is today's? Don't you want to find out? We'll get those Rumble rants in right now. And if we raise 60 by the end of the show, then you get to see it. If we don't raise it, it goes away forever. Don't boo. Don't boo me. I've seen what makes you cheer. I ran for president once in 2016, and they booed me because I didn't want to allow children to be able to buy heroin. They said I was ridiculous for even entertaining it. These are the kinds of questions they ask you in libertarian presidential debates. What about the vice presidential candidates? Well, we've got one on the line right now. You know him as the great Larry Sharpe from the People's Republic of New York, joining us live. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, my friend. I'm happy to be still surviving behind the Iron Curtain, but I'm still here. I'm surviving. Someone's got to fight this battle, my friend, so it's me.
So, Larry, you're doing the whole run on a ticket with another candidate thing. Anybody who kind of understands the Libertarian Party knows that the candidates are picked separately. So
yes.
Why choose to run with Lars Mapstead? I think you're kind of more high profile. Why not go for the presidential spot?
Well, I wasn't going to run at all. I ran for governor of New York in 2022 and got my butt kicked, and it was hard. You've run more than once. It is painful. It's a struggle both financially, mentally, family, the whole deal. And I wasn't going to run at all. So I was just supporting candidates. But Lars, the same reason why I ran in 2020 only under Jim Gray, it's the same reason why I'm running only under Lars. There's only one way for the Libertarian Party to make any impact whatsoever. It's not a 50-state run. A 50-state run is going to do the same thing we've been doing for the past 50 years, 1%, maybe 2 or 3 if we get a Gary Johnson type, but we don't have that type this year. So we're going to get 1% again. And now we got RFK Jr. running. We got Cornel West running. We got Jill Stein running. It's going to be a bad year for us unless we do a different thing, which is focus on electoral votes early on. Try to get Maine, try to get Nebraska. Then from that, once we get a little bit of a press from that, then make it a 50-state run. On top of that, money. Money matters. You and I have had to raise money more than once. I raise good money. It's one thing I can do very, very well. I'm a good fundraiser. I've raised $500,000 more than once in a campaign. I've raised money for other people. I raised $200,000 for Gary Johnson. I mean, I raise a lot of money. It's what I do. So he already has money. He is a self-made man. He's already put about $700,000 into his campaign already. We haven't seen that kind of money since Gary Johnson. He has already decided he is going to spend another $1 million already when he starts. Plus, he has some friends who like him and don't like libertarians, but like him. So we'll support him also when he wins. So we're going to have money and a plan. That's why I'm running with him. If it's somebody else, I don't want to run. I'm not trying to win something. I'm trying to make impact. I have a job. It's not a vanity project for me, right? Are you still going to
run? If Lars doesn't win the nomination, are you still going to run for the VP spot?
No. That's why I dropped out last time when I wanted to. Judge Jim Gray also agreed with that plan last time. And when he didn't make the nomination, I dropped out. If the Libertarian Party doesn't want this plan, I understand. I respect that. I'll drop. I'm not going to run just to run. There are a lot of people who just run just to run.
But they would probably pick you this time, Larry. I mean, you're very well liked.
They would have picked me last time.
Well, but you're you're sound, you're reasonable, you're friendly, you're a good public face for the party. I mean, the guys who are running for the VP at this point, it's not so good, Larry. I mean, if I were you, I'd stick around, for at least for the VP nominating convention. I'd go for it. Why not? Because I'm tired of being embarrassed. And listen, I may not be a member. So then
why don't you run for governor of Missouri like I told you to?
Well, first of all, because we actually have good candidates who have a credible chance to win here in Missouri that are closer to our ideals than you'd find in other states, places like New York, for example. But Larry,
my point is, you don't want to run just to run. You want to run for a reason. That is my point.
I get it.
So do I.
Now, here's the thing. So you're running, on a ticket, as a ticket.
Yeah.
The Libertarians don't choose tickets. They choose their candidates separately. I don't know a whole lot about this Lars Mapstead guy, but what I've heard about him or what I've read about him, I mean, he's a rich guy, but he made his money in scandalous ways. I know that libertarians don't care about this kind of stuff.
Stop that. Is that scandalous ways?
Well, listen, I know libertarians don't care about this stuff, but the general public might. Am I wrong? It wasn't scandalous? Did he not make his money in pornography?
You are incorrect. Let me explain why.
All right, help me.
But again, and I don't care. I don't care if he was a sex worker himself. I don't care. I don't care. I'm a hardcore libertarian in that regard. So I have no reason to lie about this. What actually happened is he had one of his sites. He had many businesses. One of them was Friend Finder. And in Friend Finder, this was back in the day in the 90s and such, right? When people were just going online and finding people. Well, the problem was there was scandalous stuff on the Friend Finder.
Yeah.
And people started getting upset. I don't want this on my Friend Finder. I don't want this. So he said, oh, why don't I make a separate thing for the adult people to go? We'll go to Adult Friend Finder. So he made a separate thing called Adult Friend Finder, which was much more people getting together, hooking up and things of that sort.
That did
exist.
That's scandalous.
That's not scandalous at all. That's not at all.
Not to the people who think that you should be able to sell heroin to 5-year-olds, maybe, Larry, but for the average American public,
for the average American,
Joe Q public is going to be like, ugh.
Joe Q public can be or you want, because Joe Q public is actually on that site. So it's all fine. It doesn't matter. They're all on that site. So it doesn't matter.
All right, Larry. Well, that's you're going to have a better answer than that one, I think. It flies with me, but it's not going to fly with other people. So if you do get the nomination with Lars, then I would have a better answer for something like that. Just my opinion.
I like my answer. I'm not going to back off of that answer.
I'm not saying back off of the answer. Just
answer.
It'll work with libertarians, but like with other people, I would say probably need a better answer for the Adult Friend Finder website. But that's how he got his money, right? It was through the Friend Finder network that he created.
Through several businesses. That was one of them. Yes.
Okay. So
yes,
again,
that was one.
We're all adults, we're libertarians. Yeah, okay. We're all libertarians and we're adults. That's fine. Let's talk about the other dynamics that are at play in the race, because obviously you guys are going to have your presidential fight.
By the way, hold on. Let me do it right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lars24.com. Please check out his website.
Okay, yes. And I always give you a chance to plug things too at the end of the interviews. You know this. So everybody's fighting for the presidential spot, right? You've got a bunch of people that we've never heard of, Larry. And then Donald Trump's going to be there at the convention.
Yes,
and it's like
RFK Jr. too.
What do you think about? What do you think
Vivek is going to be there?
What do you think about all these Republicans taking over your convention, Larry?
They're not taking over our convention. Look at you being your hyperbolic self.
Yes,
they are not.
Yes,
I am happy they're coming because they're giving us press.
I'm happy they're coming because that's my political party, and I want you guys to just be absorbed like the blob, like the anglerfish at the bottom of the ocean when the female mates.
Not going to work.
You guys, you're the male anglerfish, and like we're gonna mate, and the Republican Party is the one, the anglerfish with like the bulb on its head, and then once we mate, your body's gonna be absorbed into ours.
You don't like, but you Republicans don't like how we taste. I just said Adult Friend Finder, and you just about threw up on me. So there's no way that's gonna work.
It's you know how like guys have booty calls and men have or women have foodie calls. It's good enough for a foodie call. So we'll take a bite for a night. Donald Trump.
I don't mind that as long as it's a nice place. It's fine. It's fine. It's got to be a nice place. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're running for president. They're going to get a lot more attention than your candidate.
Well, that's possible. But the most important piece is we now have the opportunity to be in front of the cameras that I want us to be in front of. If we can't, to be forward, if we can't show up, if we can't do the right thing, that's on us. But we got to get in front of cameras. We have to be able to be good enough. We got to be able to be savvy enough to say cool things, to get in front of that camera. If we don't, that's on us. But I want cameras in front of us.
So are you going to campaign for the Libertarian presidential candidate this year?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay. Is the Libertarian Party candidates these days, they really seem to have a thing with Jews. Have you noticed that there's a lot of disdain for God's chosen people from the candidates who are running this year? Or is it just me?
I don't know what circles you're looking at. Is that true?
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen that.
Oh, Larry, you got to start paying attention to the conversations that are going on in your own party,
I
man.
don't want to. That's why I have a team who watches my social media. I do not want to know what's happening. Do you know the shade I get? Do you know how they attack me online? I'll let my people do that. It's
Larry,
fine.
you're losing face here today, man. You can't do this. You got to give it to us straight, brother. You're going to campaign for the Libertarian presidential candidate, but you don't know what their political positions are. I mean, are you saying that you're going to go out there proudly and campaign for somebody who thinks that the Jewish banking conspiracies are controlling the world, and that, you know, the world would be better if Israel was dissolved and if Palestinians were running and playing in the streets like little happy puppies and kitties and things like that?
God, I hope that guy doesn't win. Is that guy going to win? I hope not. Larry,
listen, I love you, man, but the party is a fucking embarrassment, and we would all be better off if all of you with the same brains would join us in the Republican Party and help us to fight the left, because this is about a civilizational struggle between ourselves and the woke left who want to destroy you. We're going to be the first ones that I have watched your party
sell out so fast. I have watched your party sell out so fast, specifically in my state. And I don't know Republicans in every state. I know them in mine. I have watched them sell out so fast. I've watched them collapse like there's no tomorrow. I've watched them grift like there's no doubt. I have expressed how they would grift, told them, have receipts on them grifting, and people still support them. No, your party is a corporate party. I love you, brother, and I wish you wouldn't have left us.
My party is the only party with elected libertarians in office, holding people accountable, people like Rand Paul, people like Thomas Massey. There are dozens of us. Dozens, Larry. Hold on. Let me reset. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to my good friend Larry Sharp, and despite the combativeness, we are good buds, and we're talking about the Libertarian
100%.
Party's nominating convention for president of the United States. Donald Trump will be speaking there. You say you think he could overshadow the presidential candidate, but Larry, he will. He always sucks the energy out of the room. Don't you think a lot of libertarians big L libertarians are going to be swayed by Donald Trump? They're going to look at the weakness of the LP candidate, and they are going to vote for Donald Trump this year?
Yeah, this is a very valid point. Agreed, right? The issue is when you are losing, and the Libertarian Party is losing, we're getting less than 1% or 1% constantly. Losing, you know this as a military historian, when you're losing is when you gamble. And this is the right time to gamble. There's no doubt. Everything you're saying is true. I mean, it could happen. But without it, we're in trouble. So we roll the dice. We hope that our people are going to do the right thing. We hope that we get some great press, and we hope that we take some from them. There are people in the Republican Party who are unhappy with Republicans, of course. Now, there's 80 million voters who vote Republican, maybe 3 million, maybe who vote Libertarian, probably more like 2 or 3 in that area who vote Libertarian. If we lose 10% of ours to Trump, but gain 1% of his, we still win. So my hope is that we'll gain more from him than he will gain from us. But you're right. He will take some of our people. So will RFK Jr. So will whomever, right? When we have a candidate who is not going to be as well-funded, who's not going to have the same background, who's not going to have the same infrastructure, we're going to lose some people. There's no doubt. And look, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. He's a Republican. I'm not a Republican. However, guy's got charisma. There's no doubt. I can't fight that. I got eyes. The guy has charisma. The guy is going to take some of our people. As long as we take more and in the long run we gain more, I'm good.
But they're not going to take more. They're not going to gain in the long term. This is going to result in the first time since 1992 that the Libertarian Party will take 4th place in the general election behind Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is also speaking at the convention.
Yep.
And he will also be vying for the votes of the Libertarian Party members.
Yes. 100%. Yes. So we basically have 2 options. Option number 1, sit back and let everyone overshadow us, period. Or option number 2, put them all in the same place that we are, under our name, getting our candidates in front of them, and us being able to get people to go, wait a minute, these guys are real too. As you know, as a third-party candidate, the number one thing you're searching for is being valid. Being on a stage and with them makes you valid. Once you're valid, people will pay attention to you. If you're not valid, you're just completely ignored, right? When I was on the ballot in 2018, I was everybody's best friend. Everybody loved me, everybody show. When I got sued off the ballot, by the way, by your party, Republican Party, they sued me off the ballot in 2022. Because they were afraid of me because they wanted to grift.
My party knows
they didn't win the election. They still lost the election and grifted, but they did sue me off the ballot. They did win that one. So when they sued me off the ballot, all of a sudden people didn't want to talk to me anymore. I wasn't valid anymore. My 2022 election compared to 2018 was nothing. And it was because I wasn't valid.
Let me tell you something, Larry. I'm going to make a prediction. Lars Mapstead is not going to get the nomination of the Libertarian Party at the convention. Okay. Knowing what I know about the makeup of the party as it is, and seeing, even like in the polling that the party is doing here and there, that's not going to happen, which means you're not going to be the VP pick, which I think sucks because you'd be a good one. I think you represent us well. You'd probably do better and maybe even win if you actually ran for the presidential nomination. Right. But once this is all over, the dust is cleared and the Libertarian Party has embarrassed people like yourself to the absolute extreme, then you will join me in the Republican Party. And here's the prediction. You are going to have a fantastic career. The Republican Party is going to welcome you with open arms because as much as you and I may not like identity politics or tokenism, you will be the token black man who will be able to get up on stage and we'll talk about how awful the Democrats are. And you will be rich. You'll be wealthy. They might even run you for an office that you might actually win. You'll be happy. Your children will be like Genghis Khan. And you and I will actually work together to fight for liberty once again, instead of being in opposite camps.
Sounds
to a certain degree. I think that you, Larry, the best is yet to come, but you're going to have to take another L this year, and I hate to see it, man. I hate to see it.
I've taken a bunch, so it's not like I haven't taken L's before. It does make me stronger, my friend. It does make me stronger as I keep going on. Look, maybe you're right. I'm not going to say that you're 100% wrong. Who the hell knows, right? Who the hell knows? But the point is, right now, this is the right method. This is the right way of going. Third parties are the right way right now. They're growing. And you can see it with RFK Jr., you see it with Cornel West. You see them with the idea, not actively yet, but the idea of forward party, the idea of no labels. These ideas are because people are open to the ideas now. Third parties are the way right now. And I hope we can jump on this wave. I think it's a better route than going this left-right paradigm.
No. The laws are written such as to prevent third parties from getting on the ballot.
I know.
And it may be for the best, because the Libertarian Party went from the limp-wristed years of Gary Johnson, the weak, effete left libertarianism of the Gary Johnson years, to now some anti-Semitic, anti-America, basically adopting the foreign policy of Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. It has morphed into a party that's like the polar opposite of the limp-wristed years, which is like essentially it's nothing that I recognize of what the LP was for a brief period as the Tea Party, began its rise. And now we see, these institutions, these libertarian institutions like FreedomWorks and others, they're collapsing. And I blame you, Larry, because people like yourself are on the wrong side of the line. Yes, it's your fault, because you keep fighting losing battles. You've got to come over to our side, Larry. You've got to join the Republican Party, because you will actually they're going to make you a lieutenant. They're going to put you on the front lines. You're a U.S. Marine. as the Libertarian Party that I'm describing here, does that sound alien to you? I know you're saying you're not checking your social media and stuff like that. You're a patriotic American.
No.
You love our country,
there
right?
are, of course, that's true.
Of course. You served our country.
That's true. Yes, that's true. That's how I feel.
Right.
I literally have 2 American flags in my background. So yes, that I feel that. Of course I do. But no, the issue still is right now the system is not working. The Republican Party that I don't know. I don't see that party. I see a party that recruits me constantly. Every month they're trying to get me in. You're correct. They want me in all the time in New York State. But I see a party that loses, doesn't care, that grifts. That's what I see. And the Democratic Party in my state that just dominates.
You telling me that Libertarian Party members don't grift?
Of course they do.
You've got all the same problem. Here's the thing. You've got all the same problems that the major parties do with none of the benefits, Larry. None. You've got all the same
Valid
problems,
point, but
and worse.
There's one important point that I do have.
Okay.
One, and that is I'm a libertarian. And with that in mind, when I run with my party, with my people, I do believe that we're trying to fight the right fight. The Republicans that I see, again, I only talk from my state. The Republicans in my state are not fighting for the right fight. They're fighting for their own fiefdoms, and they've accepted defeat. I don't accept defeat. I keep fighting. I'll give you an example. In my specific area in New York City where I live, the Republicans haven't even run a candidate in 10 years. They haven't run a candidate in 10 years. That's how bad it is, right? They don't fight in my state at all. Why would I want to join that party? At least my party's fighting. I'll give them that.
Okay. Well, we all enjoyed the movie 300, and everybody thinks that the Spartans were cool, but the 300...
I got to get more cut, though.
Yeah, you got to get a little more cut, but they were slaughtered, and the Spartans no longer exist. I would love to see you win a victory, Larry, but I think at this point in time, you are having your good name besmirched by people who are not fit to carry water for you, Larry. You're one of the few people in that dying vessel that is actually worth something, that served our country as a U.S. Marine. You have a good name, and I hate to see it getting tarred with people who want to sell heroin to 5-year-olds. And I'll leave it at that and let you plug your campaign before we let you go, Larry. Thanks for letting me beat you up a little bit this morning.
Oh, no worries, my friend. I adore you. Lars24.com is the place to go to see we're talking about the voter bill of rights, which Republicans don't have. We're talking about ways of fixing the border. We're talking about ways of fixing our economy. We're talking about ways of editing the Fed. We're talking about important ways and things that matter. If we're able to make this campaign work, we will actually be able to win at least 1 or 2 electoral votes. We get gold on the map, and that's the goal. Gold on the map means that people will see the Libertarian Party as real. If they see us as real, they will have to react. I want them to actually react. Right now, what I get is other guy bad. That's all I get. I don't want other guy bad. I want actual plans. Things haven't been fixed in this country in 20 years or more. I can't remember when things are being fixed. They're not, because I don't have to fix anything. I protect you from the evil left, or I protect you from the evil right, and that's all I do. I actually achieve nothing. One of the reasons why Justin Amash left the Libertarian Party and why he decided to step down was because he believed that he wasn't making any impact. And now he's struggling as a Republican in Michigan right now. He may or may not win his primary. He's struggling now.
That's because he voted to impeach Donald Trump, and because he took
he took what he thought was a principled stance, and he got punished.
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm tired of these principled stands seeing good people go down.
I know,
right? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of watching, good men and good women take swords, fall on their swords that they don't have to. People like you, people like Justin Amash have got to stop going out there, putting yourself out as cannon fodder for people who don't care about you, who are use you up. Larry, these people that in the Libertarian Party, they don't care about you, man. They chew you up, they spit you out. You saw
all the time.
You saw how they treated me, and I was an activist with them for 10 years, longer than you were there.
I remember.
Far longer, for years. And they eat their young. You still have a career ahead of you, Larry. You still have a good name. Get out while the getting is good. Vote for Donald Trump, Larry. After you lose the Libertarian nomination, join us, and together we shall rule the galaxy as father and son. Larry, give us that website one more time, brother.
Lars24.com, guys. Lars24.com. Check out what's going on. I think that we have a good shot at making impact this year. If you are not a third-party person, I get it. If you are a third-party person, vote third party. Let's get these third parties moving, rocking and rolling. The two-party system's not working. And look, if we get to work together one day, Austin, that's awesome. I've been trying to pull you back to libertarians for years, and you keep trying to pull me in the Republican Party. I guess one day one of us will win eventually.
Larry, I know I'm going to win this fight because Republicans actually win fights. Larry, appreciate your time today. Have a wonderful day. Good luck out there, and we'll probably have you back after the convention to hear your thoughts on what went down. Okay? Have a good one, and good luck.
Have a good one, brother.
Yep. Thank you very much. That's Larry Sharp. What'd you guys think? Larry and I are buds, so we can give each other a hard time like that. If you enjoyed that conversation, don't forget to click the like button over on the feed. And, of course, subscribe to the channel. We've got a little bit less than 5 minutes before Judge Napolitano joins us. Just an update. We have raised $52 towards the $60 goal of unlocking today's bonus content. Yes. So if we had unlocked the bonus content, you would be seeing that now. But as it is, you're going to see some commercials until we get that last $8. Give me that. All right, wait. Hold on.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
We'll be right back with Judge Napolitano to break down all the Supreme Court all the Supreme Court cases on the docket on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Are you not entertained?
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise in Freedom. As per usual, my next guest, who you all know, our regular Wednesday guest, and I were having so much fun talking backstage. I almost missed the intro. Thanks for sticking around through the commercials. We appreciate you very much. The Wake Up America show streams live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So for many of you who are watching the show today for the very first time, do us a favor. Click that follow button on the feed. Come back and join us on that regular schedule and click the like button as well. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the show. My next guest brings up the IQ pool around here by about 150 points. All rise, the great Judge Andrew Napolitano joining us live. Good morning, Judge. Great to see you again.
Hi, how are you, Austin? Good morning. I had to step away from the camera because my dog, Chris, was trying to devour a bee.
Hopefully he's not allergic to them, Judge, but we're glad to have you here. We missed you last week. We heard you were giving a speech at the University of Milan. How exciting, Judge. Just jet setting everywhere.
It was a big deal. It went even better than I had hoped. The students in Italy, the students in Europe are all bi and trilingual, and it appears that 90% of them choose as one of the other languages in which to be proficient besides their own English. I was very well received by students, by faculty, by other academics, by professional people. There is a substantial libertarian gaggle in Italy's largest, most cosmopolitan, I'm sorry to say, most left-wing city, Naples. And these are serious, serious libertarians. When I quoted Murray Rothbard, they roared with approval. It was a terrific, terrific experience. The speech was sponsored by something called the Bruno Leone Institute. Bruno Leone, an Italian libertarian philosopher, Italy's Murray Rothbard, if you will. But the people that run the institute are themselves graduates of the Mises Institute in Auburn, Alabama. And we had many, many mutual friends, and it was just a delight. Just a delight.
I'm surprised that you haven't been invited yet to Argentina to speak on behalf to Javier Milei and the anarcho-capitalists down there. But I imagine that'll probably be next on your trip list. I've heard you're going to Moscow and St. Petersburg now, and it's so exciting, Judge, to see you out there spreading liberty around the world. And we're just so thankful that we get you for 15 to 20 minutes here in the morning. So let's go ahead and selfishly make good use of your time, Judge. We're looking at the cases on the docket for the Supreme Court this year. One case in particular caught my attention, this U.S. versus Rahimi, which is a pending case on whether a federal law that prohibits accused domestic abusers from possessing firearms should be struck down in a case that will determine the scope of the court's 2022 ruling that expanded gun rights. So the question of, if you slap your wife around or if you beat your kids, should you have your guns taken away before you're convicted of a crime? I think I know how you'll answer, but I'd be curious.
Well, there are two issues here. One is the deprivation of liberty and property without due process. I mean, that should end the inquiry right there. These things happen, as you say, without trials. The alleged victim appears before a judge and persuades the judge, by the way, my spouse has a gun, you better send the police over there to take it. And the police just show up and will use force if necessary to remove the weapons. That's a serious violation of the Fifth Amendment, deprivation of liberty to protect yourself and property ownership of the weapon without a trial, without the government proving fault on your part. The more interesting aspect of this, however, and that which follows from the Supreme Court's opinion 2 years ago called Bruin, the one in which Justice Thomas wrote a treatise on the right to bear arms. The essence of that opinion is that the Second Amendment should be interpreted today as it was understood by those who ratified it. Now, at the time it was ratified, there was no prohibition on bearing arms because of domestic violence. So is the court going to be consistent with the Bruin case, or is it going to come up with some sort of sociological argument that, well, we didn't recognize domestic violence as a problem at the time? Very interesting to see which way it goes. My view is that the court will be consistent, will invalidate Mr. Rahini's loss of his weapon. This is not an issue about whether or not he was violent to his wife. I don't even know what the facts are there. This is an issue about whether the government can confiscate his weapon as a consequence of that.
And I know that, Judge, you're not even a fan of restraining orders, correct?
No, I'm not a fan of the government intruding on your right to self-defense unless you have voluntarily waived that right by interfering with somebody else's natural rights. Really, the essence of the argument I made in Milan, our rights are natural, and the only legitimate, moral, licit role for government is to defend those rights. The bank robber gives up his right, his freedom of travel and his freedom of speech by stealing the money that belongs to the depositors of the bank, and the government can take those rights away from him as a consequence of that theft. I have to close the door. There's some people outside, Judge. And Chris is having a field day.
Go ahead and do that, Judge. I'll reset for our listeners who are just tuning in to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Don't forget, click that like button and the follow button as well if it's your first time joining us here on the Wake Up America show. I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano right now. He joins us every Wednesday for Big Brain Time, and today we're discussing Supreme Court cases that are on the docket this year, and we just discussed U.S. versus Rahimi. Judge, the next one related to the gun question was the bump stock ban, whether to uphold a Trump-era ban on bump stocks. That's a type of gun accessory that allows semi-automatic rifles to fire rapidly, like the ones that were allegedly used in the Las Vegas shooting. Judge, where do you expect the Supreme Court comes down on this?
Wouldn't surprise me if they uphold the ban. Justice Kavanaugh is a fan of the administrative state. The president was warned about this. I know that personally, since I was one of the people that warned him when then Judge Kavanaugh was being considered for the court. The issue here is, can a property be made unlawful by the act of a bureaucrat? This is not a vote of the Congress. This is a decree of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives, whatever they call themselves now. They keep adding letters to their names. But the part of the deep state that regulates firearms, can they make possession of a lawful product unlawful, or does it have to be done by Congress? That's the constitutional issue before the court. There's no question in my mind that even Congress can't do this. So certainly a bureaucrat can't do it, but I'm not so sure that a majority of the court will agree with me.
It's a shame, Judge, because you would think that a conservative majority would be more friendly to the Second Amendment, but it just seems as if the conservatives are more than willing to throw it out as long as it provides the government with more power. I imagine Kavanaugh will, or not Kavanaugh, but I imagine Gorsuch will probably write the dissent.
Well, hopefully it won't be a dissent, but if there is one, I would imagine that he would write it because he's a textualist and he believes that the Constitution means what it says. And I don't mean to pick on Justice Kavanaugh, but I'm trying to extract what I think his opinion will be from having read the transcript of the oral argument. On the other hand, Justice Barrett, who's the mother of 9 children, carried a sidearm, carried a gun when she was a professor at Notre Dame Law School, of which I'm an alumnus, and when she was on the Seventh Circuit in Chicago. So she might not go with the libs on this.
Judge, let's talk about another case on the docket, Fisher versus the United States. This is the January 6th defendant who's trying to throw out his obstruction of an official proceeding charge in a case that could affect Trump. What's at stake here?
So this person did not personally interfere with Congress's counting of the ballots, but he was part of the crowd that was chanting whatever it was chanting and was waved onto the Capitol grounds by a Capitol Hill police officer. He's been convicted of obstructing justice, which in the federal system is called obstruction of a governmental function. The function that he was convicted of obstructing was the counting of the electoral votes, even though he didn't personally participate in the actual obstruction. So the court is going to decide, how far these laws can go. Actually, he was convicted of conspiracy to obstruct justice. Now, I happen to think all conspiracy statutes are unconstitutional because they punish thoughts. By definition, if you're going to charge somebody with conspiracy to do something, they didn't actually do what they conspired to do, or you charge them with the actual act rather than just the conspiracy. Conspiracy is an agreement amongst 2 or more people to commit an illegal act where at least one of the conspirators takes at least one step in furtherance of the conspiracy. But the act doesn't actually happen, or these people didn't actually commit the act, or the government would charge them with committing the act. So it's not going to charge you with conspiracy to commit bank robbery if it can charge you with bank robbery. So the question is, did he conspire to interfere with what Congress did just by being a member of the crowd? Depending upon how the court rules and how broadly the ruling is, it might actually remove one of the charges from Donald Trump in his January 6th case as well. Not all, and not even most, but one of them would go away.
Fascinating stuff, Judge, and thank you so much for this insight. It certainly helps me to shape my opinions on these matters, Judge. So we're so grateful that you join us every Wednesday here at 8 a.m. Central Time. We call it Big Brain Time for a reason. And that is because we typically not only talk about these kinds of issues and events, but we also talk about philosophy, which I would like to get to here in a couple of minutes. But I'm actually going to, if you don't mind, lower the IQ poll about 20 points here and ask you a few questions.
What are you doing? Bringing Josh Hawley on? Sorry, I couldn't resist. Sorry, Senator.
We are going to talk about that, Judge, in just a few minutes, but I'd actually like to ask you something else about politics. You probably were very lucky and blessed in that time that you got to spend in Milan, in your beautiful ancestral homeland of Italy, that you probably didn't see the news, maybe you did, about what's happening here domestically with the Libertarian Party's National Convention. And I know that you always tell me that you always vote for the Libertarian Party's presidential candidate because you don't care for the uniparty's candidates that they place forward. I respect that. But I'm curious what your thoughts were on the move that was made by the Libertarian Party to invite Donald Trump to the presidential nominating convention that will be held over Memorial Day in Washington, D.C. Did you see that news? And if so, what are your thoughts?
I did see the news. I guess they're doing it just to get some publicity because they can't get publicity otherwise. There's very little that he can say to them that will motivate them. I know him very well. There's not a libertarian bone in his body. He's an authoritarian. He's the opposite of a libertarian. I believe they also invited President Biden and Bobby Kennedy, and I believe that Bobby Kennedy is going to appear there. Now, he does have some libertarian strains in him. He also has, big government strains in him as well. But these people, many of whom are friends of yours and mine, are obviously struggling to get publicity, and that can be the only reason that they're doing this. I mean, could you imagine the Republicans inviting Bernie Sanders or the Democrats inviting Josh Hawley? I mean, the speakers are really fish out of water, particularly Trump. But Bobby can at least say things to them like, unlike Donald Trump, whose DOJ indicted Julian Assange, I will pardon him. Unlike Donald Trump, who allowed the persecution of Edward Snowden, I will pardon him. Unlike Donald Trump, who presided over lockdowns, shutdowns, and mask regulations, you will never see that from me. So Bobby can at least make those arguments. I can't even imagine what arguments President Trump could make.
If I were to guess, it might be that the libertarian accomplishments that he had while he was in office, which he may have done because he thought it was, it would make him look good politically, would be things like signing the right to try bill, or, for example, the criminal justice reform First Step Act that he passed. If he has a smart speechwriter, they'll double down on those things. The tax cuts that he passed, for example, or the multiple amount of regulations that he overturned while he was president of the United States, some of which, well, you can give him credit for, and others you might have to look. Well, he could say, perhaps, you can all thank me for Justice Gorsuch, for example. If I were writing a speech for Donald Trump, that's what I would highlight. But who knows what he'll actually say when he's there, because most of his economics don't align with what you and I believe in, but neither do the Democrats. What's fascinating to me is to see Joe Biden now trying to outdo Donald Trump when it comes to tariffs. And that's really the conversation we should be having here, Judge. We're going to increase the IQ again another 20 points and talk a little bit about philosophy. I heard you denigrate a tad the senior senator now from Missouri, Josh Hawley. And what's fascinating about Senators Hawley and the national conservative movement is that they're really, when you say not a libertarian bone in their body, what's fascinating about the new right that has taken over the party, you probably saw the news that Freedom Works, the Tea Party institution that I used to work for, closed last week, citing the Trump populism as the reason that there's not as much interest in the ideas of economic liberty that you and I worked together to espouse 12 years ago on the Fox Business Network. And so the new right is essentially progressive in every way except for the social issues, which is fascinating because they're really only conservative when it comes to being religious, and meaning that they're Bernie Sanders, but they go to church on Sunday. Is that a fair estimate, fair analysis?
Well, I don't know what conservative means anymore from and after the presidency of George W. Bush, which began a march towards big government, surveillance, warfare, more redistribution of wealth. I mean, the Uniparty is basically 90% of Congress. They think they can define and condemn and punish people for making anti-Semitic remarks. They don't care about the First Amendment. They don't care about the Fourth Amendment, the right to privacy. They don't care about the Fifth Amendment due process. It's basically just a Republican version of big government, but there's no principle in them. If you read The Conscience of a Conservative by Barry Goldwater, they don't agree with anything in there with the possible exception of a muscular military. If you read The Road to Serfdom by F.A. Hayek, they either haven't read it, don't understand it, or don't agree with its principles of freedom. Even if you read Capitalism and Freedom by Milton Friedman, which to me today is still big government because it involves the Federal Reserve, but yet there are some excellent one-liners in there which animate people towards liberty. These Republicans today don't embrace it. the Republican Party today is basically a cult, a personality cult. And if that personality loses or goes to jail, I don't know what happens to the party. If that personality does get elected president, I don't know what happens to the party after he leaves office. But that's basically what the party has become. There's no small government principles. There's no maximum individual liberty principles. There's no fidelity to the Constitution principles. There's no fidelity to the free market principles.
It must be
It's a
difficult
very
for you.
sad state. It's a sad state of affairs.
It must be so difficult for you, Judge, being that you tend to live a fairly socially conservative lifestyle, right? You are a pre-Vatican II Catholic. You are a believer in God, a believer in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, and yet the people with whom that you share a faith tend to be more on the imperial view side of things when it comes to their philosophy. I mean, it's hard enough being a libertarian, in general, but to be a religious libertarian and to be surrounded by people who think that they should use the power of the state to abolish the wall of separation between church and state, and to force everyone to believe as you believe, Judge, it must be quite difficult. I'm curious your thoughts, Judge, on the separation of church and state. My wife and I visited.
I'm an absolutist on the separation of church and state, which means if I were on the court and someone challenged any financial benefit to a religious institution, I would invalidate that benefit. Otherwise, you end up with what we have now. So the state of New Jersey can't pay the Archdiocese of Newark for communion wafers, but it can buy geography books for their primary schools. Well, that frees up cash to buy the communion wafers because money is fungible. So that's aid to a religious institution, which the First Amendment prohibits. And where does that aid come from? My tax dollars. And the same thing applies to a yeshiva or to a fundamentalist Christian school or even a Muslim school. If I want to, the theory of the First Amendment is if you want to donate to those institutions, do it on your own. The government shouldn't be taking money from you in taxes and giving them to religious institutions. Why? Well, that's one of the reasons we fought the revolution, because the king took money from people to pay for the Church of England. Whether you were an Anglican or not, you ended up paying for it. And Madison and his colleagues wanted to make sure that that wouldn't happen again. Well, much of what Madison intended has been undone and has happened. Free speech is suppressed. The right to privacy is destroyed. Due process is waning, and they take your tax dollars and give them to religious institutions. Now, when I say this, to get back to your question, of course, my Catholic friends, and especially my traditional Catholic friends, are infuriated by it. When I say you have the right to change your gender, they are livid at me at that. I mean, that is immoral, illicit, and mortally sinful, but it's none of the government's business. The government can't force religion down our throats. God didn't force himself down our throats. He gave us the free will to accept or to reject him.
Wow, this is a lot of food for thought, Judge. I can go in so many ways with so many questions about this, but I'm not sure where to go. Gosh, Judge, do you believe in evolution?
Yes.
The
evidence is inescapable. If you don't believe in evolution, then you're rejecting your ability to reason. Your reason just stops at a certain point rather than continuing.
It must be fascinating being a Catholic because I come from a tradition of fundamentalism, and there is a strong rejection of of a belief in evolution because their argument is that because the Bible is the literal truth and the literal word of God, that therefore it cannot be the case that human beings evolved from lesser animals because God created Adam and Eve in his own image. There would have been no evolution for such. It must be interesting taking a look at that phenomenon here in the United States, because there does seem to be a sort of a resurgence of the conflict that emerged during, well, as you know, the Scopes monkey trial, where H.L. Mencken famously sort of lampooned the court case where in Kansas they were attempting to prevent the teaching of evolution as such. But I mean, if we have, you and I want to abolish public schools, but if we have public schools, should they teach evolution?
Well, yes, they should, but that's like asking me, if we have poison, should we have mild poison or serious poison? We shouldn't have public schools at all. The public schools are instruments of indoctrination, period. That's the whole reason Woodrow Wilson promoted their establishment, which he began promoting while he was the president of Princeton. And they began in 1903 in San Francisco. And like a lot of crazy things in America, made their way eastward from California. As long as there are public schools, they're going to teach what the people who own them think they should teach, so that the people who own them, which are government officials, can stay in office, period. There's no right or wrong. There's no truth or falsity. There's no reason to. It's just whatever will keep us in office. And if we indoctrinate the children to believe Abraham Lincoln was great, George Washington was a saint, FDR saved us in World War II, respect authority, bow down to the government, if we can indoctrinate children to buy all that nonsense. Harry Truman ended World War II by killing 250,000 people by dropping an atomic bomb on a Catholic basilica on a Sunday morning. I mean, you get people to believe all this nonsense. You can get them to believe anything.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, ladies and gentlemen. Judge, who do you have coming up on your excellent show, Judging Freedom, this week?
I have this morning at 11:30 Eastern, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, one of the smartest people I know, who comes on once a week. Jeff Sachs knows everybody. Jeff Sachs gets called by the Pope to give economic advice to him, even though Jeff is Jewish. He is a fierce battler for peace. And at 3 o'clock, Phil Giraldi. Phil, if you recall, had a 40-year career in the CIA. He has a PhD in history from the University of Chicago, so he's not your typical CIA agent. He's the one who told George W. Bush Saddam Hussein does not have weapons of mass destruction, whereupon Bush threw him out of the Oval Office, and Phil the next day resigned from the CIA and told his story to everybody.
Judge, sounds great. And your weekly column, available at judgenap.com, comes out on Thursdays, correct?
Free speech for me, but not for thee. And it attacks the loss of free speech in the United States, particularly with the House of Representatives trying to take federal aid away from schools that don't crack down on what the House thinks is anti-Semitism. Of course, I do have a line in there that there should be no federal aid to schools because it's not justified by the Constitution.
Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's sticking with limited government, and so am I. Judge, it was great to see you today. We missed you last week. Next, let us know what your travel schedule is going to be. Very excited to hear about your speeches in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Keep the light of liberty alive, and thank you very much for your friendship and time.
I'll see you next week, Austin. Thank you.
That's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Let's give him a round of applause. You're not having conversations like this on any other talk show in the morning, so why don't you hit that like button and follow the channel if it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show live. I want to say thank you very much to everybody for unlocking that bonus content. You did it. Thank you, Guokas. Thank you, Joni Rankin. Thank you to all of our friends this morning who stepped in. Frickety, I saw, became a monthly subscriber. Thank you, Frickety. You rock. Blue Trike, Guokas, Levin214, so many others who stepped in to help support the Wake Up America show. Me, Steffi P, and Lil Baby Hazel. Thank you very much. We salute you. The Wake Up America show streams live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The bonus content program has been a tremendous success. I'm going to play it for you here in just a moment. But first, I want to remind you that the Wake Up America show, at least this month, is sponsored in part by our friends over at Preserve Gold. If you're like me and you're concerned about the rise of central bank digital currencies, then today's the day to get more information from our friends at Preserve Gold about how to invest in solid, hard, precious metals. You can text the word Liberty to 50505. That's Liberty to 50505. There's no obligation to buy. They'll send you a free gold and silver information packet. So find out today how to secure your financial future against the rise of financial tyranny by texting the word Liberty to 50505. Again, text the word Liberty to 50505. Preserve Gold is stepping in to finance the Wake Up America show in a big way. And if they're sticking around again through next month, that means that more people like you texted the word Liberty to 50505 and protecting not only your own financial future, but protecting the future of the Wake Up America show as well. So get that free gold and silver information packet by texting the word Liberty to 50505. And here's your bonus content when we get back. Things that millennials can't do. Find out what it is when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Theme of the Wake Up America show's bonus content takes a look at libertarian celebrities. Today we have a refresher on Clint Eastwood's libertarian politics. Clint Eastwood's libertarian politics, marked by his socially liberal and economically conservative views, often lead to misunderstandings. His ideology and stance are distinct from traditional Republican views, emphasizing a unique blend of libertarian principles. Eastwood's infamous empty chair speech at the Republican convention was interpreted by many as peculiar. However, the focus on his critique of President Obama overlooked his broader dissatisfaction with both political parties, particularly regarding their foreign policies. During the speech, Eastwood condemned the Guantanamo Bay decisions and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, showcasing his anti-war stance. These critical views, especially coming right before the nomination of a warmongering candidate, highlighted his political independence. Despite endorsing the Republican nominee, Eastwood's support was tepid. His political identity leans towards libertarianism, prioritizing economic conservatism while advocating for social freedom and minimal government interference. Eastwood's background influences his political views. Raised by a fiscally conservative father who also respected social liberties, Eastwood adopted a libertarian stance, focusing on personal freedom and minimal regulation. His critique extends to both major U.S. parties, which he believes have strayed from their foundational principles. This has led to fiscal irresponsibility and excessive regulation, contributing to economic crises in various countries. Eastwood opposed the Iraq War, questioning the rationale behind U.S. military involvement. He supports troop success, but remains skeptical of the effectiveness of such interventions, citing historical challenges faced by other nations like Russia in Afghanistan. In the 2008 U.S. election, Eastwood voted for John McCain, not strictly because of party allegiance, but due to McCain's war experience, which he felt might lend insight into military conflicts. While appreciating Barack Obama's multiracial background, Eastwood viewed him as inexperienced, particularly in crucial decision-making processes. Eastwood's political stability and a critical approach to U.S. foreign and domestic policies, challenging both major political parties and advocating for a more principled approach to governance.
It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens, an intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. Thanks for sticking around. We appreciate all you joining us live. And of course, if you're listening to the audio version of the show later, we're grateful for you as well. Did you know that we do upload all of the audio content after the show is over for you to enjoy in any time that you please? Why don't you head over today to your favorite podcast player, download the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson onto that device. That way, whenever you're not able to listen to it live, you can always catch up on the shows later. And if you're an iTunes user, click that 5-star button over there and leave us a nice little written review. Come on, tap, tap, tappy, give it a little tap. Tap, tap, tap us in. 5-star review over on iTunes this morning. We'd be grateful to have your support. Hope you enjoyed that bonus content. Clint Eastwood, today's libertarian celebrity of the day. Yes. It's a 45. It will blow your head clean off. 44 Magnum? 45? Which was the Dirty Harry gun? Anybody? 44 Magnum? It's a 44 Magnum. It will blow your head clean off. Yes, there is a crew in the production studio. They're just not my crew. Maybe one day. Don't cry for me, Argentina. We've still got about 20 minutes left on the Wake Up America show. So guess what? We're going to have a little bit of fun. Things that millennials can't do. Are you ready? You ready? All right, let's have some fun. The New York Post is reporting that millennials, people my age, geriatrics, are talking about things that they can't do. Weird quirks. Said that in a quirky way. Weird quirks or quarks that make folks over 30 sick to their stomachs. 30-somethings and 43-year-olds like me just can't phone it in. Millennial quirks are kind of universal to folks in our generation, whether it's reciting and repeating phone numbers. Does anybody do that anymore still? My wife kind of is like, Austin, why don't you know my phone number? I always have to ask. What about carrying a physical wallet? I guess that's starting to go by the wayside these days. There was a brief period for a time when young people were carrying their cash and their cards in wallets that were built into their cell phones, but I'm told that's now an old person thing. So here's the thing. I honestly have not figured out, like other millennials apparently, I have not figured out how to pay with my phone, but I have figured out how to tap my credit cards on the machine. You know, it's got the little beeper there. You don't even have to swipe it or stick it in the machine. You can just beep it. Apparently, you can do that with your phone as well. I haven't figured out how to do that. And quite frankly, I'm too scared to try. Is that what it means to get old? You're too afraid to try things. Oh, it's voodoo. It's witchcraft. I didn't have my wallet the other day, but I wanted to eat some food, but I was afraid that I would have to figure out how to use my phone to tap it on the machine. And then if it didn't work and I'd already ordered my food, I would feel like an asshole. So I didn't go. That's what grandparents used to do. They're like, I'm not getting a computer. I'm scared, right? That's how we are these days. Millennials. We're getting old these days. People born in the late 1980s and mid 1990s were kind of starting to get set in our ways. And the big one, apparently the big millennial quirk, is our inability to buy big ticket items on cellular devices. One radio personality who was a Zoomer cheekily question millennials, why can they not make big purchases on their phones? So like buy things like shoes, or you can buy, electronics or things like that on your phones. But if you're going to buy a plane ticket, that's a laptop job. And I have to say, can relate. Whenever you buy a plane ticket these days, if I need to do so, it's not going to get done on my phone. And the reason why personally I do that is because I'm always afraid that I'm going to miss out on some kind of information. And whenever I'm going to do something like spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on something, it's got to be a laptop that you use to buy it, right? Because you want to have multiple tabs open. You want to do comparing and prices, right? But there was a January 2024 report that determined online shoppers in their late 20s to early 30s, they do serious business on computers in order to better resist spur-of-the-moment charges. And this has been something we've been talking about the last couple of weeks on the show. All of these new charges that get tacked on at the end of a transaction. So, for example, when I was booking my hotel room in Springfield, Missouri, a couple of weeks ago, you would see a price rate that would be like $89 a night. And you're like, oh, great. And then when you get to the end, it's like $150 per night, because of all the fees. Sometimes you see that at restaurants too. They'll put a fee on there and it'll be like the busser fee or the server fee or things like that. You'll see all these fees added on the any receipts. It's happening more and more on more websites that the price that you see at the end of the transaction is not the price that you pay. Now, millennials are nearly as likely to make an impulse purchase on their phone as they are in store. However, they rarely make an impulse purchase on their computers. So we're 48% likely to make an impulse purchase if we're buying something on our phone, but that drops dramatically to where if we're on our computer, impulse purchases really only happen about 3% of the time. So there's some kind of psychology going on here where people of my generation and below, whenever we are doing serious shopping, for some reason we feel the need to switch to a laptop. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. What are you like this? This is kind of a weird quirk. Send me a text with your thoughts at 573-319-1586 in Jam 77 over in the Rumble chat says, I do, but I'm a boomer. Okay, boomer. There was a March 2023 survey which revealed that tipsy, aka drunk, millennials are the leading contributors to America's $14 billion drunk shopping problem, which sees the not so young anymore adults cracking open their laptops and hitting add to cart while under the influence of alcohol. I, too, am guilty of this, although it wasn't alcohol, if you know what I'm saying. It was a fine aged leaf tobacco, yes. Are the leading contributors. $14 billion drunk shopping problem, not program. They wish it was a program. Are you guilty of this? Have you ever done drunk shopping online? Ladies, be real with me, okay? Online, a number of Y2Kers seconded these sentiments. They are also the type of people who are going to make a big purchase. They're going to do it on a laptop. You cannot do it on a phone. Plane tickets, laptop. Going to Disney World, laptop. Buying a couch, laptop. A lot of people are talking about this online. 3.7 million views on that video. Big purchases must always be done on a laptop and not on a phone. I don't make the rules. And while many people are agreeing with this, leaving comments like bigger purchases call for a bigger internet, which I don't understand. A handful of millennial dissenters have hailed cell phones as the king. I'm a millennial who can't relate. I don't even own a laptop. Everything done on my phone, says one outlier. One 38-year-old millennial says, I've booked all my holidays on my phone. Blasphemy. Burn her at the stake. Sounds like some commie gobbledygook.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Combat Janitor, first time joining us over there on Rumble, dropped a comment today. What's up, Combat? He says, I haven't used a computer in 4 years. And how are you talking to us right now, Combat Janitor? And welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. We always love seeing new names and faces. Whenever I see somebody in the chat that we haven't seen before, we always love to welcome you here. Combat Janitor, we hope you'll come back and join us. The show schedule is Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, and we'd be glad to have you join us. So make sure you click that follow button before you leave today as you clean things up, Combat Janitor. We appreciate you very much. Guokas says he's paid with his phone. It's an overrated experience. Interesting. Guokas, he also says, carry a wallet, but keep your cash in your pocket. That way you still have the money to replace your license when they steal your wallet. Not a bad idea, actually. 383 people watching us live over on X.com. Boy, Twitter really is growing these days. Nice to see you all. I note that while we have a big audience over on Twitter or X.com, the chat functionality really hasn't matured yet. So just an FYI, if you're enjoying the Wake Up America show and you're watching us over on that platform, we'd love to have you join us at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. It's a really fun gaggle of friends that like to goof off and chat and joke and fight with each other and punch each other in the face, metaphorically speaking, of course. Speaking of getting punched in the face, well, this one's more like a punch to the gut. Well, literally and metaphorically. McDonald's is getting rid of free drink refills. No,
God! No, God,
no,
please, no.
See, the guys in the studio raise their heads on this one. More fast food chains may follow. No more free drinks, empty cups and empty hearts. McDonald's customers are bidding a bitter farewell to free drink refills, one of the latest casualties from the brand that's already facing an identity crisis over their extreme prices. Have you seen how much it costs to make a burger, to get a burger and fries and a shake over at McDonald's these days? What, are you going to call me a big fat ass because I like McDonald's? Boo, I don't care. It's delicious. Shut up. If you haven't eaten the steak, egg, and cheese bagel that they have over there, I know some people aren't breakfast people, but for the love of God, the onions that they put on that thing and the crispy edges, sometimes it's a little gristly. I understand. They've got to put like the cow's butthole in there whenever they chew it up and grind it up and make the steak for the morning. But frankly, I find it to be delicious. Don't judge me. I know I need to go on a diet. All right. But at least McDonald's is going to help us with the diet part of that, because that just means fewer of us are going to drink fewer soda. What is the world coming to? People are asking. It was reported last year that Mickey D's was gradually phasing out their self-serve soda fountains for dine-in customers by the year 2032. Okay, so we're safe. 2032. However, charging refills will be left at the discretion of individual restaurant owners and operators. But it's not just McDonald's that's doing this. McDonald's is a leader in the industry, and very often where they make big changes, other restaurants tend to follow suit. Did you guys see that Red Lobster's going out of business, going bankrupt around the country? I haven't eaten at a Red Lobster in a long time, but apparently, guess what it was that killed him? It was that endless shrimp. Did you guys ever see that Simpsons episode from like 150 years ago where Homer goes to the buffet and he eats them and they have to like drag him out because he doesn't stop? Apparently all Americans are like Homer Simpson these days, because they said that they lost billions of dollars apparently on the endless shrimp meal that they had because Americans were eating them out of house and home. They said that the price that they charged $20 a meal for endless shrimp should have been $25. So if you like your Red Lobster endless shrimp, you're going to have to pay more for it. That is, if you even have a Red Lobster within the coming weeks. So Americans' diets are changing. Panera Bread customers and even the grocery store Wegmans, they're getting rid of their self-serve soda machines. You're going to have to get your beverages behind the counter like regular fat people. Okay, it's time for me to go. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our family. Did you enjoy the Wake Up America show today? I love that I can just hit the applause button and make you agree with me. Always love hanging out with all of our regulars, people like Barney Styles, Frickety, who became a monthly subscriber today. Frickety, you the man. You the man. Matt Unruh, what's up, Matt? How are you doing, brother? What's it like being a dad? I'm right behind you there, bud. Airget Lamb, Kermode Bear, Guocos. I'm glad you got the coffee, brother. Coming your way. Combat Janitor, Joni Rankin, In Jam 77. I always think Toe Jam whenever I see that name. Who else do we have? Cecilia H, lovely to see you. Entropy, Nomad as well. Liberty Shindig, I know it's you, Ken. You broke my heart. Rare Camellia, hi CJ, I guess we'll see you tomorrow here on the show. Eric Dondero, used to work for Ron Paul back in the 1980s in Congress in Washington, D.C. All of our friends joining us this morning, I'm always grateful. If you're joining us somewhere other than rumble.com, it's nice to see so many Friends of Liberty on multiple platforms. Yes, we even have a few viewers over on YouTube as well as on x.com. Thanks so much for waking up every day here and joining us. For all of you regulars who support the Wake Up America show, many of you patriots make monthly contributions to the show. Many of you make purchases to the show or Rumble rants to the show. Some of you have even texted Liberty to the number 50505, our gold sponsor at Preserve Gold. And for that, we thank you. As we go, say goodbye, exit through the Grift Shop, AP for libertyshop.com. Every single day, Stephanie and I are adding new merchandise to the Grift Shop for your pleasure at ap4libertyshop.com. We'll see you guys tomorrow, Thirsty Thursdays. You know why they call it Thirsty Thursdays, don't you? We'll see you then on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Of the Wake Up America show's bonus content takes a look at libertarian celebrities. Today we have a refresher on Clint Eastwood's libertarian politics. Clint Eastwood's libertarian politics, marked by his socially liberal and economically conservative views, often lead to misunderstandings. His ideology and stance are distinct from traditional Republican views, emphasizing a unique blend of libertarian principles. Eastwood's infamous empty chair speech at the Republican convention was interpreted by many as peculiar. However, the focus on his critique of President Obama overlooked his broader dissatisfaction with both political parties, particularly regarding their foreign policies. During the speech, Eastwood condemned the Guantanamo Bay decisions and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, showcasing his anti-war stance. These critical views, especially coming right before the nomination of a warmongering candidate, highlighted his political independence. Despite endorsing the Republican nominee, Eastwood's support was tepid. His political identity leans towards libertarianism, prioritizing economic conservatism while advocating for social freedom and minimal government interference. Eastwood's background influences his political views. Raised by a fiscally conservative father who also respected social liberties, Eastwood adopted a libertarian stance, focusing on personal freedom and minimal regulation. His critique extends to both major U.S. parties, which he believes have strayed from their foundational principles. This has led to fiscal irresponsibility and excessive regulation, contributing to economic crises in various countries. Eastwood opposed the Iraq War, questioning the rationale behind U.S. military involvement. He supports troop success, but remains skeptical of the effectiveness of such interventions, citing historical challenges faced by other nations like Russia in Afghanistan. In the 2008 U.S. election, Eastwood voted for John McCain, not strictly because of party allegiance, but due to McCain's war experience, which he felt might lend insight into military conflicts. While appreciating Barack Obama's multiracial background, Eastwood viewed him as inexperienced, particularly in crucial decision-making processes. Eastwood's ability and a critical approach to U.S. foreign and domestic policies, challenging both major political parties and advocating for a more principled approach to governance.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to wake up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every